Back in 2019, the state of Illinois approved a measure and the governor enacted it that consolidates downstate police and firefighter pension funds because some jurisdictions were struggling with their pension debts and was eating up most, if not all, of their property taxes and eating into the spending that they have to do for other vital services within the city. Even here in Springfield, there was a growing first responder pension debt obligation that the city had yet to get control of. So one of the ideas that was tossed around was, hey, let's go ahead and have some consolidation of all of these different funds. There are hundreds of funds across the state of Illinois. And they went ahead and moved forward, and the governor enacted the pension consolidation for all firefighter and police pension funds outside of the city of Chicago. Chicago's not impacted by this. But it essentially takes all of these funds and puts them into two separate funds. A fund for police that's managed for all of the funds pooled together, and a fund for firefighters that's managed with all the funds pulled together. Well, it was challenged in courts in Kane County. You had more than a dozen of the funds not complying with this, challenging it, saying it takes away their rights as voting members on their local boards to manage the pension funds. But it's now being taken up by the Illinois Supreme Court. When they'll hear it, still not known. But I did have to go back all the way to a year and a day ago, before the November election, and Governor J.B. Pritzker was meeting with the Associated Firefighters of Illinois for an endorsement forum, and they talked about the pension consolidation. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about how he believes that this is good for firefighters, and it's good for municipalities, and it's good for taxpayers. Again, flashing back literally a year and a day ago today.
Don't mind.
Well, I will say that it was a collaboration. You all came to the table. So did the members of the legislature that wanted to help get this done. And it was a goal of mine to do a consolidation, something that people have tried for 75 years to get done. As you know, there are 655 local police and firefighter pension plans across downstate Illinois and suburban Chicago, Illinois. And one of the consequences of having so many of those small pension funds is you're not able to get the returns on those funds with small amounts of money to invest in the markets. When you consolidate and you have billions of dollars in one fund to be able to invest, you can get good returns, you pay lower fees. And we looked at the returns on all of those funds for firefighters and saw that essentially for decades, every year the firefighter funds were underperforming by 2%. The rest of the investment, pension funds that are around the country. We could do better, and we should do better. And so, again, people have tried this in Illinois for 75 years. Governors couldn't get it done. Legislatures couldn't get it done. You might say that when you become governor, it's not a great idea to take on something that looks like it might not succeed, but it's so important. And so, worked very hard on that, as you know, with all of you to make sure that we were doing the right things for firefighters as well as for municipalities, and most importantly, for property taxpayers who are really paying the bill for any underfunding of the pension systems. So we were able to put together a plan to get all of these pension funds together. There's about $7 billion collectively in all those funds for firefighters. There's a separate one for police that's about $10 billion. And as a result of that, again, already, because you all were very quick to put those funds together, already we've seen savings and better returns, or outpacing, the rest of the market. We might have hit a light here. There we go. Yeah, mood lighting, exactly. Hannah shedding light on the room. I appreciate that. But I'm really excited about what we were able to accomplish. And it really was a partnership. You can't do this if, only one side, let's say the municipalities, were trying to get it done without talking to firefighters, or vice versa. And so I was pleased that Dan Hines, who was our He's the former comptroller of the state, of course, but he also was our deputy governor and very knowledgeable about pensions. And he really led our effort as the governor's office. You all led for firefighters, and I'm pleased about the outcome.
And just an update, so there's 296 separate Article 4 downstate and suburban firefighter funds, and of those 296, 260 have already transferred, just for an update for you, and we've already saved $26 million just in management fees alone.
And again, this is from a year and a day ago.
We have about $7.5 billion, and hopefully by the end of June, we'll have all 296 completely transferred. So.
Well, I should add that, as you talk about the numbers, one of the, if you look at what would happen if you got the 2% more in returns or outpacing what you were doing prior to the consolidation, what we saw was literally billions of dollars of more funding for your pension systems just by virtue of the investment. So you can imagine that's great for you because your pensions are going to be there when you retire. It's also great for property taxpayers in local communities where they were seeing an upward pressure on property taxes because of the fact that the returns weren't so great in the individual funds. So in the end, we're again alleviating the upward pressure on property taxes and very importantly, securing your retirement.
Yeah, and I think in hindsight, in 1919, we would not have developed over 650 separate pension funds.
Yeah,
going back in time. But I think we're on the right track, and it was a little difficult to explain to our membership early on. So, these are made up numbers. Springfield's fire fund has $200 million, let's say, and Galesburg's has $60 million. $200 million sounds like a lot of money, but in the investment world, it's peanuts. So when you have $7.5 billion and you're able to invest in private equities and real estate, and we've actually done some securities lending, which has generated revenue for our funds. So there's about $375,000 we've just made in the last 2 quarters there. So it's we're having some success, and that's obviously based on your leadership.
And there are even smaller funds, in rural areas where not a lot of population. You had $2 million pension funds, so you can imagine it's hard to get any returns on $2 million, especially if you have to keep some of it in cash, because in fact you are sending out retirement checks, pension checks to people.
So again, it's Governor J.B. Pritzker talking a year and a day ago with the Associated Firefighters of Illinois about the pension consolidation they had. And while the firefighters group there saying that they had hoped to get all of the fire funds on to their consolidated funds, that's not the case. There's 4 firefighter funds that have yet to consolidate, 2 of which are part of the lawsuit that the Illinois Supreme Court's going to take up. More than a dozen of the hundreds of funds have not consolidated, arguing in court that it takes away local control. And this is obviously something that the Illinois Supreme Court's going to take up. But some of the response here is that, you've got the Kane County dismissing the case earlier this year. The appellate court upheld the lower court's ruling, saying that the act does nothing more than require one type of government-created pension fund to transfer assets to another type of government-created pension fund. Plaintiffs' rights to receive benefit payments are not impacted by the transfer because the plaintiffs were arguing it violated the state's pension clause, the contract clause, and the takings clause. But you also have some of those who are saying that they believe that the Illinois Supreme Court's going to uphold this. The Illinois Municipal League said that it believes the law will be upheld, as it has twice already, and will eventually yield to better financial results for both pension beneficiaries and taxpayers. So we'll be watching that as one of the cases going in front of the Illinois Supreme Court questioning the constitutionality of pension consolidation here in the state of Illinois.